The loggers looked up and couldn't believe their eyes. A young woman stood at the top of a 50-meter redwood tree. Her long hair flowed in the breeze, her look determined and unyielding, like a forest spirit come to life. Could she really be something otherworldly? This extraordinary story begins in 1997 when the relentless roar of chainsaws echoed through the forest. One by one, ancient redwoods fell. Once sprawling across 800,000 hectares, these forests were reduced to just 30,000. Redwoods, living fossils dating back over 150 million years to the Jurassic era, and some of the tallest and oldest trees on Earth were vanishing. Now, a redwood, over 1,500 years old, faced the grim fate of being cut down. Was it destined to silently await the end of its ancient life under the blades of human saws? The situation was dire. Volunteers rallied to protest, and among them was a young woman named Julia, who didn't hesitate to join the cause. But no matter how fiercely they protested, the logging company remained indifferent. Out of options, Julia decided to take a stand, literally. With the help of her friends, she climbed a massive redwood. At a height of 55 meters, she set up a makeshift tent and named the tree Luna, determined to confront the loggers in the most direct way possible. At first, they paid her no mind. Many had attempted tree-sitting protests before, but few could endure beyond a couple of days. Seeing a young girl up there, they assumed she'd be no different. Julia thought she'd only need to stay in the tree for a day or two, but she didn't expect the logging company to be so unyielding. They even cut down 2 neighboring trees to intimidate her. Stuck high above the ground, her heart pounding and body tense, unable to relax, Julia refused to climb back down. Seeing her determination, the company escalated their tactics, sending helicopters overhead, sending powerful gusts of wind that whipped through the tree and shook its branches violently. But Julia held on, unshaken in her resolve. She boldly said, "I have decided that my feet will no longer touch the ground until I have done everything I can to make people aware of what is happening here and stop this destruction." Each night, she lit a signal lantern to let the volunteers below know she and Luna were still okay. In response, the logging company fenced off the area around the tree in an attempt to cut off Julia's food supply. Without access to fresh water, Julia collected rainwater whenever possible. Limited in her movements, she tied herself to the tree to avoid falling. Her unwavering determination inspired volunteers and nearby villagers, who rallied to support her. Days turned into weeks, and what everyone thought would be a short protest stretched into months. But instead of the good news she had hoped for, Julia was confronted with a once-in-a-lifetime cold snap and hurricane.
I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to die.
The storm tore through the forest, its icy winds ripping Julia's tent to shreds within minutes. Caught in the relentless onslaught of cold and the storm, she clung desperately to Luna, entrusting her survival entirely to the ancient tree that had stood by her side through it all. Remarkably, Luna stood firm, sheltering her from the storm and helping her make it through the night unscathed. This ordeal only strengthened Julia's resolve. She was more determined than ever to protect the forest, no matter the cost. Initially, many dismissed Julia as a crazy extremist, assuming her protest was just a publicity stunt. No one expected her to last. But as time went on and word of her protest spread, public opinion began to shift. Julia gradually became an icon of environmental activism across the nation. She spent 100 days in the tree, then 200, then 6 months, a year and a half. With each passing day, her story inspired more supporters, while the pressure on the logging company continued to mount. In the end, the company conceded, not only sparing Luna, but also pledging to halt logging in the surrounding forest. The redwood forest finally returned to its former tranquility, and Julia could finally return to life on the ground. At this point, Julia had spent an incredible 738 days, just over 2 years, in the tree. But for Julia, she knew this victory wasn't the end of her journey. It was just the beginning. She continued fighting for the environment, and her courageous stand to protect the redwoods inspired countless others.